What does winter solstice mean to you?
Well, it means a new fresh start. So I'm already prepping for a ritual later tonight. Has to be done. Um, yeah, it's like when things turn, isn't it? So we have to. It's good to have a little extra thought behind it, an extra intent for the next coming year.
It's a new beginning that we need. I think everyone needs a new beginning right now.
Yeah, on every level, every possible level. I think. So yeah, it's important to put focus on what's important for yourself, for your family, for everybody around you. I think.
It's even more special because of this great conjunction that's happening with Jupiter and Saturn. Does that mean anything to you? It's pretty fascinating, though, eh?
Well, it's fascinating for sure. I read that it was like 800 years, something like that, since last time that
Right.
supposedly happened. So that in itself is quite epic.
Well, it's also epic because apparently they're going to be look like they merge, but they're still
Mhm.
450 million miles apart or
Right,
something, right? Which
right.
is
We
pretty crazy.
It's really crazy. We cannot really comprehend or fathom
No, no,
what that
absolutely
means.
not.
So,
How does a black metal icon then celebrate the holidays?
well, taking it pretty easy, I think. You don't get any younger, so it's about you know um, being with your closest ones, eat good food, have some good beverages, and yeah, maybe time to reflect. I think.
This Insidious Disease record really, it's any key sounds this year have really been a savior to everyone, especially myself, as you know what I mean. I'm diving right into this brand new record. It's taking me away from all the bullshit around me, and it
Cool.
really is a glorious death metal record. Hence me
Thanks a
wearing
lot.
this my little entombed
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
because
Nice
although
one.
I think it shouldn't be the first three albums, it should be the first four because I
Yeah,
love To Ride, Shoot Straight, and Speak the Truth as well.
right.
No, but it really, truly, and this could be the ultimate compliment because I haven't stopped listening to it. It's hard to pick a standout track because it's just one big standout track.
Wow, that's yeah, that's the best compliment one can get. It's like if people listen to it over and over again and they find some new favorite or whatever, and it changes. Yeah, that's the best compliment an artist can get. I think. Yeah, absolutely.
And this has been stewing for 10 years.
Well, yeah, on and off, I guess you can say. We were done mastering it in 2017, actually.
Right.
So, and we recorded the drums. We started recording the drums in 2015, and then we did guitars, bass, and vocals in 2016. Over the course of several months, just in and out, did it in our own tempo, and I think that was good for this album in particular because we didn't have a deadline. In other situations, that can be a bit tricky because if you don't have a deadline, um, it's easy to fall into the rabbit hole of changing things all the time, going back and changing small bits here and there on the songs. But once we had the songs written and obviously the drums were done, it's like then you pretty much set the basics for the songs. It's if you're going to change something, then you kind of have to re-record from scratch. If otherwise, it's going to be a bit tricky to copy and paste and all that bullshit. So I think once we were done with the drums and we started recording guitars, that's and then of course did the bass and the vocals and the songs were set before we had time to mix. We just had to put it on the shelf and not listen to it too much because, as I said, it's tempting to go back and maybe change a few bits here and there, you know. And these are songs that has been made over the course from 2011, 2012 up until 2015. So it's not like we have spent 10 years on it, but you know, it's good to finally have it out for sure. It's been in the waiting for a long time.
And I really find it a death metal history lesson because I hear clandestine kind of echoing. I hear dismember. There's actually one part where I'm like, you nailed dismember on purpose. And I'm trying to remember the song, but
Right,
you know the
right.
part. And I'm like, oh my
Yeah,
God, I'm such a huge dismember fan.
me too, man.
And there was a point where I'm like, I also hear primitive ways from death. Mark, it just
Yeah, I mean it's impossible to not mention death when it comes to my upbringing in extreme music, you know, or music in general. It's been such a huge influence ever since the late 80s when I heard Death for the first time. You know, I actually didn't even like it the first time I heard it. Leprosy was the first album I heard with Death in '88. I ordered it on tape from Sweden, and I put it on, and I was like, hadn't heard it before, and I just thought the cover was killer. So I bought it like unheard, and yeah, this is like, oh, this is weird, you know. And it took me a few days to get used to it, but then once it clicked, it was like, holy shit, this is just a new awakening, you know, when it comes to music. So Death has definitely been a huge inspiration for me in anything I do musically.
was there much of a community back then that you could actually do tape trading and have friends that you would hang with that actually could relate to
Yeah, well,
leprosy?
yeah, well, both yes and no. I think the tape trading came a bit later in the early '90s, but in the late '80s, I was still not playing an instrument. Obviously, I already had a band with friends, you know, but we didn't have instruments and stuff. So, but yeah, there were some like-minded people, and we kind of like copied tapes to each other. And remember, we copied from LP to tapes to play the tapes to not ruin the LPs, you know.
Like you've seen on
Good old
social
trick.
media? Yes.
So, and I still have those tapes actually. And I also remember I was listening to a very famous heavy metal rock and roll show on Swedish radio, which I got in, which I tuned into every Saturday. And of course, I taped all those programs. You know, it was 45 minutes with very varied music, everything from extreme metal to glam rock, you know, and stuff like that. So I still have those tapes as well, and I think that was like a time where I shaped my musical tastes. You know, I feel personally I have a good variation when it comes to taste in music. So I think that's when it really started.
Let's dive back into this new record because both Tony and Shane's resumes are just as long as your arm. How is it working with those two guys? Describe your relationship with both.
Well, I've known both of them for a long, long time, and obviously when you hit it off musically and as friends and all that, it's hard not want to start a musical project together. So um, that goes back to the early or yeah mid '90s, late '90s, I guess. And so when me and Yardar was talking about starting this death metal thing again in 2003, 2004, that was when, you know, we need a solid drummer, we need a solid bass player, and a solid vocalist, and so basically just it happened pretty effortlessly, you know. And because we used to have a death metal constellation together before I started or formed Dimmu. So I guess we just wanted to pick up the torch from the early '90s, you know, and start from that.
I don't know if you can see behind me. I've got an Odium little poster that I
Yeah,
kept and framed from Century Media because that is one of the most special moments. I don't even. It's. I don't know if death metal is even the right term. I would consider like progressive metal, right? Like it was
right.
such a strong. You know what I mean? Nothing sounded like Odium. And Mark's voice on this record. I'm like, Seth and I are looking at each other, going, "Holy shit, man! This is like." Insane. Like he nailed it. He
Yeah.
really did nail it.
No, he has a very distinct voice, you know. And when we started Insidious, we weren't looking for this typical down-tuned growling type of voice. We wanted more of an old school approach, since we were obviously fans of Death, Pestilence, Possessed, Obituary, those type of more screamy vocals, you know. And so at that time, the Dimmu manager, Carsten Otterbach, who played guitar for Morgoth, he suggested that we should get in touch with Mark, you know, because he wasn't doing anything at the time. And we were like, yeah, why not try that out? And basically just fit the glove right off the bat. So that's something I'm really happy about with this band, that we have a distinct, or more of a distinct sound when it comes to the vocals.
I'll always remember something because you mentioned the band that Martin Van Drunen told me from Asphyx, and he said that it was all John Tardy's fault.
Yeah, I mean, that's
a great quote, eh?
Yeah, of course. There you go. It's I mean, don't get me wrong, I love really gargly vocals as well, of course, and vocals on Dismember and Entombed albums, and even Ted's vocals on the first Darkthrone album is awesome as well. So it's, you know, there's tons and tons of distinct death metal voices out there, and it still stands the test of time, I think, even today.
Can I throw some random questions at you?
Yeah, sure. You might get random answers.
Your social media activity, it's you seem to be having fun with this new world order online.
Yeah, and funny that you mentioned that today, actually, because as of a couple of days ago, I decided to take a longer break from social media, even the private one, maybe for indefinite time. I don't know. It's just takes up a lot of time, you know, and you just don't know it until you put it away. Like when you put it on the shelf, and it's like you don't reach for your phone, you know, or when you reach for your phone, it's like, no, let's not do this, you know. So I erased the apps from my phone, and I decided if I have to use it now, I need to log into a browser and do it from there. So we'll see how that goes.
It truly is a world where people are, they're just consumed 24/7.
Yeah, and I got consumed as well, you know, and so far so good. It's just that it takes up too much time, I think, and take the focus away from what I'm supposed to do, which is being creative. And being creative is not like a button you can put on and off, you know, right, or turn on and off. So yeah, we'll see how it goes. But I don't have an immediate need to get on either Facebook or Instagram at the moment. So far so good.
But you were really raising some cool topics like this Charity Bikers MC. Can you talk to me about that?
Yeah, sure. I've been a patch member for since 2012 now. And obviously it's in the name, charity. That's our main focus. We assist and help people in need, whatever that means. You know, the last few years our focus has been a lot. We have different areas that we cover, but one of our main focuses have been helping and assisting the veterans when they get back from service in whatever country they've been in. And we're pretty proud of that. Obviously we don't support war in any type or kind, but when those guys, men and women, come home from service in Afghanistan, Iraq, Sudan, wherever you want to look, there's not much help from the government, and they might get the pat on the back and, yeah, you did a good service for the country, but then they're left to themselves with PTSD or whatever it is, and they cannot. Some of them cannot go back to regular work, and I think that's has been our main focus over the years. So yeah.
Well, it's truly sad because there's only one reason why I'm sitting here free. And society as a whole can't, it's disgusting. They've dropped the ball on all these people. And it's not just the older veterans from World War II. You know what I mean? It's young kids these days.
Yeah, yeah.
And you're right. There should be more being done. So congrats.
Yeah, absolutely. Because, well, that's a whole different discussion. But anyway, I think, especially for a country like Norway, I can only speak for Norway, which is a wealthy country, one of the wealthiest countries in the world. I mean, Norway helped make the war machine turn, and they send people out to war. But when they come home, there's hardly anything else but maybe a medal and a pat on the shoulder, and that's to me that's absolutely disgusting.
Yeah, let's keep it on and up. And back to your social media thing, because this guy, his name's Bon Scott, used to appear, I think, every Friday.
Yeah.
You must be a fan.
Yeah. No, I that was like my thing on Fridays, to get people going, and see what the mood was from my friends, what their plans were for the weekend, So I was like checking online, if I could get like rare Bon Scott photos in various situations and see if that could trigger some fun, So that was like my Friday poke.
See, it does have some usefulness.
Yeah, I think so. And it's cool to see who is like actually, are you on and off this weekend? It's like if you're on, then that means okay, maybe we meet up for a brewery, So yeah.
Well, when I would answer, I wish I could be there in person with you to do it. So
yeah, that'll be cool. I mean, of course we're on two different continents, but still, luckily with that's a good thing about social media, obviously, and all that you don't feel that you're that far away from your friends, which is
right.
Which is good. It's a time difference, obviously, but apart from that, it's that's a good part of the social media aspect.
Were you paying attention as an AC/DC fan with the rollout of the new record, or is it?
Yeah, I did. Ever since it got like the rumors started flying that they were in the studio, and there was like pictures of some of them had been in the studio. It's like, all right, cool, and of course the aspect of having Malcolm, how much of him would be on the album and stuff like that was also quite interesting, and it's good to see that. I think, well, I guess it was Angus who said that Malcolm is included on each song in one way or another. So,
right.
But that, I really like the new album. It's to me it sounds fresh, in terms of AC/DC terms. You kind of know what you get, but at the same time, no one can beat them at what they do. So when they come with a new album, it's going to be great, in one way or another. So I've been playing that quite a lot actually, and yeah, it's good. It's a good kicker. It makes me thirsty, so that's.
Well, it's the and not because I have you on Zoom. It's been the Insidious Disease, the AC/DC record, and the new Enslaved that, to me, it really took me away.
Absolutely. absolutely.
The Enslaved is just pure genius. It
Yeah,
really is just glorious.
and that's another band that really shows that after so many years and so many records, they can still pull things out of the hat, you know, and still sound vital and vibrant and interesting and varied. And that's what you want from veterans, you know, just like AC/DC. Maybe the variation is not something the word you connect with AC/DC, but still, it's, you know, two awesome, great records this year. There's been a lot of great records this year. I feel anyway, compared to maybe last year or 2 years ago. This year has been amazing in that aspect.
When we always have our annual countdown called Brave Picks, which we roll out every day in December. And it was a couple of months ago that I was just thinking, I'm like, are we going to be able to do this? Has there been enough records? And you're right. Like, I started looking back, I'm like, by far there's enough records to put to like a
Yeah,
top
yeah,
20 or top 30 together. It's been,
yeah.
despite the year, it's been a banner year.
Yeah, I had to stop at top 40. I could easily have done like top 60, top 70, you know, but I had to stop somewhere. So yeah, it's been an amazing year when it comes to music, and I pinch myself when I have so many different types of albums that I've been listening to, you know, and not only like songs but actual full albums, you know. So and that's different this year than it has been previous years as well.
To keep this on and up, can I reminisce about two things that we definitely crossed paths with. August 26, 2004. This is a really fun memory. Ozfest
Right,
at Camden.
right.
And the lineup was incredibly stellar. And we hung out a little bit. I think we did a little bit of Crown Royal that day. But it
I'm
was the
sure we did.
day that Ozzy fell ill. And Mark Groman and I were in the audience while everybody was booing when Bill Ward said that Ozzy couldn't sing. This guy
Right.
called Rob Halford was going to sing. Did
Yeah.
you watch that set? Do you have
Yeah, I did. I
many
did.
memories from that
Yeah,
glorious
I mean,
show?
for some reason, I instantly sobered up because I don't want to miss this. You know. No, but that was awesome. Knowing also Rob had pulled it off before,
Right.
so you know, everybody that I knew felt like, well, that's the right decision. You know, if they're going to not cancel the show, he should be the man doing it. So that was great memories, you know, to actually witness him doing the show.
Well, because Priest is pretty heavy on your heart
Yeah,
as a fan, right?
yeah, absolutely. Um, I've been a huge Priest fan for decades, and you know, I'm still am obviously a huge Maiden fan as well. But I think in the '80s and early '90s there was like a switch from Maiden to Priest for me. So now, you know, no, that they've always been a huge inspiration, and getting to play with them I think it was in 2001 the first time we did a festival together, and they hung out, you know, down to earth people. And I remember KK also said, "Well, I got all of you guys' albums," and we were like, "What the hell?"
Wow.
No, yeah,
Awesome.
and he named the albums and stuff. It was like, holy shit! It's like Twilight Zone, you know. So,
How did the Judas Priest and Iron Maiden dual guitars when you were growing up affect you as a fan and as a future musician?
well, I think the melody that with the twin guitar thing, not only Priest and Maiden, but all these other '80s bands, you know, that's something that has snuck into the psyche like Dracula's green mist. You know, it's just there. And when I make music, I don't really analyze. I try not to analyze too much. So, but I catch myself in like doing a lot of melody stuff that could have been, you know, stolen from the '80s, I guess you can say. But I'm trying to camouflage it in a subtle way, so to speak.
Now, musically, there was a lot of highs in 2020, but there was a few deaths that really hit hard. What did you think when Neil Peart passed earlier in the year, and obviously Eddie Van Halen? We had Lee Kerslake, Frankie Banali. Like this is some pretty heavy weights that left a heavy weight.
Yeah, imagine how many people they have affected with their musical
Yeah.
talent, uh, and then they're gone. And I mean, the music obviously will live way past us, but it's like you don't believe it until it takes a few weeks to like for it to sell, and it's really sad because you feel like you know the persons, you know, all our heroes. You feel like you know them somehow, and so you get personally affected. I remember particularly when Dio died. That was yeah, I cried my ass out, man.
Yeah.
it was it was really 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 sad, and because to me he was the my biggest hero, I guess you can say, you know. And yeah, so death from when death happens with our peers and our idols and our the musical um, yeah talent that we have looked up to and taken inspiration from all these years, when they go, it's of course it's extremely sad.
I'm going to round off with a couple more questions and kind of like why you're here. The three guitar players, the three bands, and the three albums. I should have maybe sent that question ahead of time. Um,
Yeah, I should have. Right. So, what was the question again?
so why are you here as a musician? Name a couple of the key guitar players, key bands, and key albums
Well,
from history.
Priest. Well, let's start with Priest, Maiden, Wasp, Death. Wow, yeah. It's like now it's the time when we draw blank, isn't it? But yeah, it's there's so many great guitar players or musicians in that sense. I don't really when I look back at when I grew up, it's not necessarily one or two or three musicians. It's more bands, you know. So
Right.
it's later when I started playing an instrument. That's when I started to kind of know where my inspiration comes from, I guess. So it's definitely the twin melody attack has been a huge thing for me. Although none of my bands are particularly twin guitar driven, but still, it's a huge inspiration. So, um, yeah. Next, what was the other one?
I love the fact that you named Wasp because yeah, they're a legendary band. But whenever we report on anything on Wasp, it is just huge numbers. Those early Wasp records really were like untouchable.
I think so too. And Chris Holmes is such an underrated guitar player. Obviously, he has never gotten the credit that he deserves over the years. And I think he's probably one of my bigger influences when it comes to that. You know, he has the rock and roll, he has the hard rock, he has the metal, and he has that haunting, ethereal, whatever you want to call it, lead feeling, you know.
Mhm.
And so he's probably one of my main inspirations when it comes to feeling an atmosphere in guitar playing.
Final question then. Obviously, a Dimmu update. I'm sure you're in writing.
Yeah.
Everyone's, you can't tour, so you must be writing.
We are. We have had a bit of a break now from writing, but right now we have so much material separately between us. So it's and that's never a problem either to come up with enough material. The challenge has always been like melting it together in the pot and see what comes out of it. and then you do your best to trim off the fat and stuff. Like with the last album, we could have easily probably done a double album. You know, that's how much material we had. That was good, but we feel like, just like when I'm doing an Insidious album with the other guys, we feel like, you know, quantity is not what we're gonna go for. You know, so it's important to learn how to produce yourself, because we are our own producers when it comes to that, and that's tricky too. You know, it's like when I lined up my top 40 albums this year, I had to stop at some point, you know, because I could go on and go on, and that's how it can sometimes be with a song as well. You just have to say stop, and that's when the producing part of you come in as an artist. So yeah, at the moment we have some really great ideas, I think, and people keep asking me, so what's it going to sound like? Blah blah. Well, it's always too early to say, but you know, it wouldn't surprise me if it would probably sound a little bit more primitive. In when I say primitive, it's in Dimmu aspect, obviously. So we'll see, but it'll be what it'll be, and when we send the master to the label, that means that we are happy with it, and it's already a success before it goes into manufacturing. So that's how we, I think, have always looked at our music. You know, that once we're done in the studio, send it off to mastering, then that's
Done deal.
That's done.
And having like a glass half full mentality, how do you foresee 2021 rolling out in terms of all this madness and the music industry trying to get back on track somehow?
Yeah, I think, you know, everybody's sitting on the fence, you know, and it's a tricky situation because no one knows anything, and all we can do is sit there and predict from what we hope will happen. But I think it's important to keep a positive focus and just take this time that we're in now, the so-called downtime, to be creative. And once things are going back to normal, because it will be at some point, then there's going to be a lot of bands playing live again and touring, and there's going to be a lot of great albums coming from this, because, you know, just from my own perspective, channeling the frustration and the anger and the hate by not being able to do what we're supposed to do, and put that into musical writing, then there's bound to be some great songs and albums coming out.
I just want to wish you all the best from our family to yours, man. Love you.
Likewise.
Been great.
Yeah, likewise. Thank you for having me.
Yes, absolutely, man. You take